Tony Khan on Friday announced a huge first-time ever match for Dynamite this Wednesday, with Kenny Omega going one-on-one with El Hijo del Vikingo, the current AAA Mega Champion, the same Mega title that Omega held a few years ago and that he was supposed to defend against Vikingo in 2021 at Triple Mania. But that's when Omega had to vacate the title. He had all those injuries, he was going to be out, he was having surgery, and the match never happened. Well, now Vikingo has his work visa, and he is not waiting for Omega to come back to Mexico. He is coming to Missouri this week, and he is going to be making his AEW debut. For those who don't know, they're not familiar with Vikingo, which, based on a lot of the responses on my timeline, are quite a few of you, so let me educate you. Vikingo is one of, if not the best, luchador in the world right now. I've only seen a handful of his matches. What I've seen has been, he's an incredible athlete, but I hear about him all the time. Every time there's a big AAA show or, he's on someone's independent show, he is the guy that everybody stops and watches. He is the guy that everybody talks about. He's exciting to watch. And there are a lot of fans who have been waiting to see this match. Now, I know on Rampage they talked about it. They put a video up, or they had Excalibur, I think for 30 seconds, talking about it. It's Rampage. Which aired even later than usual this week because of March Madness, and I think the show had a little over 400,000 viewers. It would have been nice to give fans more of a heads up, give them a primer on Dynamite about what makes Vikingo so special. They could do that on Wednesday. They could do that in hour 1 and do the match in hour 2. Who's to say that they don't do that? People are going to get to see it with their own 2 eyes. For the people who say, where's the story? There's no story. I can't go to bed at night unless my mom reads me a story. Where's the story? They're billing it as a dream match, right? You may not think it's a dream match. I think dream match is a tag that gets thrown around far too often these days, but they're billing it as a dream match for promotional purposes. What happened is they have availability on Vikingo. So they took advantage of it to be able to do a big match on TV. Christopher Daniels gave an interview to Wrestling Inc. He said that Conan recently met with Tony Khan to hash out some of the issues between the two sides that have popped up in recent months with AAA and AEW, and that they're in a good place right now. And both promotions are trying to be as available as they can be as their schedules permit. So they had availability on Vikingo, and they're going to strike. They're going to strike right now. People want to see the match. They're going to bring him in this one time. Could it lead to more appearances? It's possible. My guess is this is going to be a one-off for now. It's usually a one-off with these lucha guys, even the ones that AEW actually signs. Bandito hasn't been seen on Dynamite since I think he wrestled Bryan Danielson in January, which was fantastic, by the way. But we haven't seen Bandito on television since. Commander, they brought in Commander for the first time for the Face of the Revolution ladder match a month ago, whatever it was. He stole the show. He hasn't been seen since. But they are going to have that crowd eating it up, even the ones who may not know anything about Vikingo. For this audience, these people, they're going to love this match. No, it does not have a bloodline-esque story behind it. But you can't say there is no story. The story is very simple. The story is, the match has been 2 years in the making. Vikingo has said that Kenny Omega has been ducking him, which he has. He's been saying that in interviews, going back to last year. Now he's coming to Kenny's backyard. He's tired of waiting. I'm not going to wait for you to come to me. I'm coming to you. I'm going to show you up on your own show in front of your own people. That's the story. I just love the fact that we're getting Kenny Omega back in singles action. I've been waiting a long time for this. He's been doing the trios thing since he came back. I'm ready for singles Kenny Omega. I'm ready for, Mr. Match of the Year to start showing up again on AEW television. He had that incredible match with Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom. I know he's not going to go out there on television with commercial breaks every week, and it's live television, and he's going to have a 30-minute classic. I'm not expecting that. I'm not asking for that. But I would like to see Kenny Omega branching off again more into singles matches. I think there's a program waiting to be done this year with him and Takeshita. Especially with Don Callis recruiting Takeshita. Where's that going to go? I think I know where that's going to go. And I'm looking forward to that. So when I heard the match was announced, I'm like, oh, Vikingo's great. That's awesome. But I was more kind of interested in seeing Kenny Omega actually back in a singles match. But no, you cannot say that there is no story. I just told you. what the story is for this match. Could they have done a better job of saying that on television? Yes. But you cannot say that there is no story. I just told you what it is. And we will see how, if at all, they weave this elite Hangman drama into it from the end of last week's show. But man, I mean, some people, my God, people were big mad when I posted about this on Twitter. Mostly WWE fans. They were big mad that this Mexican wrestler they've never heard of before was wrestling on Dynamite. It seems to have touched a nerve with them. I mean, you're not going to watch anyway. So what are you so angry about? Don't be so angry. It's not good for your mental health. AEW Dynamite on Wednesday was in Winnipeg, and they gave the fans in Canada even more good news with the announcement that this year's, I guess, not so Forbidden Door, it's not really forbidden anymore, but this year's Forbidden Door pay-per-view will be taking place in Toronto at the Scotiabank Arena on Sunday, June 25th. I'm hoping Will Ospreay can be there. He suffered a right shoulder injury in a match in this year's New Japan Cup with his United Empire stablemate Mark Davis of Aussie Open on Monday. And Ospreay is out of the tournament. They did a spot where Davis pulled up the mats outside the ring, and he covered Ospreay underneath. He buried him underneath, and then did a running senton. And Ospreay said that he heard his shoulder pop when Davis landed, which that is not good. He finished the match. He even used the arm in the match. It was very clear, though, something was wrong. And Ospreay tweeted on Friday, he said, "This is the first time I've ever been pulled from a tour. Tomorrow I leave for rehab and recovery. Thank you everyone for the messages. It's going to be okay. I will rest up and spend time with my family. Meanwhile, support Davis in his semifinal match." And there is no word on how serious the injury is. It sounds fairly serious. I know he had some matches scheduled over WrestleMania weekend. I imagine those matches are not happening now. Hopefully it does not keep him out for months, because he was the highlight of last year's Forbidden Door against Orange Cassidy. I was figuring this year they would do the Omega Ospreay rematch from Wrestle Kingdom for the U.S. title. Bryan Danielson against Zack Sabre Jr. would seem likely. They announced that match for last year's show. It didn't happen because Bryan couldn't do it. I personally would rather see Danielson against Okada. That's the match I've been waiting to get, but he would probably get Sabre on that show. Orange Cassidy has held the All-Atlantic Championship since October. It is now the international title. I think Forbidden Door would be a good place for him to drop that title to an international talent and have it be defended outside AEW for a little bit. Either someone like Naito or Shingo, I think, would be a good choice. But Cassidy lost on last year's show to Will Ospreay. So does Tony Khan want him losing to a New Japan talent 2 years in a row? My guess is probably not, although Cassidy did beat Shibata on Rampage in November. Remember that? It had Mike Tyson on commentary for that match. The same Mike Tyson who recently said that even though AEW pays me more, I would rather be on WWE television. Which I imagine probably spells the end of Mike Tyson on AEW programming in the future. But if Orange Cassidy does not drop the belt on that show, I think Takeshita should be built up with some more wins, and he should be the one to take it from him. Takeshita winning the international title just makes all the sense in the world to me. And on this show, you also still have the possibility of a Mercedes appearance, because I do expect Stardom to be represented this year. Right now, Mercedes is only under contract with Bushiroad through... There's a big Stardom show at the end of April. I think it's April 23rd. And supposedly she's only under contract, or she was only under contract through that show. That could always change if it hasn't already. If she wants to stick around, if she's having fun and they want to, extend her deal or sign her to a new one, it's always possible that she could stick around. Mercedes against Jamie Hayter at Forbidden Door sounds great, but if both of them are champions, I don't see it happening because one has to lose. Otherwise, we don't get a finish. If Mercedes is even still the IWGP champion at that point. She may not be. If she is, I could see her defending the title against someone like Britt Baker instead. But last year on the AEW side, CM Punk broke his foot. Bryan Danielson wasn't clear from his concussion. On the New Japan side, Hiromu, he was about to fly over. He was going to be part of a 6-man tag. Hiromu got a fever, and he wasn't allowed to fly in for the show. You can fantasy book whatever matches you want, but just remember last year's show and how ravaged by injuries that show was. You have to imagine injuries are almost certainly going to play a role in this year's show also. Hopefully, though, we can have all the key players healthy by June. Toronto will not be their only stop up north. The pay-per-view is part of a 6-show Canadian tour that includes June 28th in Hamilton, Ontario for Dynamite and Rampage, July 5th in Edmonton for Dynamite and Rampage, July 12th in Saskatoon for Dynamite, July 14th in Regina for Rampage, and a house show on Saturday, July 15th in Calgary at the Saddle Dome as part of the annual Calgary Stampede. After this Canadian tour, a UK tour can't be far behind. Last year, Tony Khan said they would be making their UK debut in 2023, even as recently as last week. He was still saying they're coming to London, specifically London this year. He just hasn't said exactly when.